And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Global Speedrun Association. Today we have some Super Mario Odyssey action coming your way, this being round 3, the winner's bracket, round 2 of the loser's bracket. We have 4 matches for Super Mario Odyssey coming up on Global Speedrun Association just today. We're going to be starting out with Sefaro versus GSK8. My name is Dangers. I'm going to be your commentator today, doing some solo action. Should be exciting. Get to hang out with you guys in chat all day today, so should be exciting indeed. Now, Sefaro and GSK8, very similar looking histories with this game. Sefaro nailing down a 102 PB recently. GSK8, kind of an up-and-comer recently, has been steadily improving his times. I think currently looking at a high 103 himself. So we have a very exciting matchup here indeed. And it should be interesting to see what direction this goes. Now, I do know Sefaro personally, have watched a lot of his runs. He is an excellent late game player, tends to kind of really shine towards the end, which is very uncommon in speedrunning. A lot of people do a lot of resets, of course, so you see a lot of people nailing down kind of the beginning portion of the game, and Sefaro has kind of taken a different approach to it. So if GSK8 is indeed ahead coming out of the early game, it wouldn't surprise me, but we could indeed see an upset as Sefaro kind of comes back into the game later on. One of the most solid end game performance, who is kind of 102 area. Definitely a force to be reckoned with. Now, this being the loser's bracket, round 2, of course, anyone who loses in the loser's bracket does get sent home. So the stakes are high here. Now, we've got these guys starting out in Cap Kingdom, on their way, rolling through the hills. This first triple jump already. Sefaro taking a bonk on the railing. Now, the tricky part about that jump in particular is that the game kind of starts you out without Cappy to kind of teach you how Mario moves by himself. So no cap throws available to save you as you jump over the railing there. So GSK8, like I mentioned, might be taking an early lead here. Now, coming up into this frog room, you're going to see GSK8 capture this frog. And we're going to be utilizing a technique here called vectoring. Now, vectoring is essentially a technique where if you change your direction in midair into a diagonal rather than just going straight on, it kind of tricks the game into thinking that you're picking up speed. So a couple of places where this does come in handy. Basically, any jump can make use of this, but a lot of jumps are a little bit too small for that to be the case. So we'll probably see that again on the moon, most significantly. Now, interestingly enough, both of these runners taking a fall on left side. GSK8 actually being able to back it up with a regular jump, but Sefaro taking a bonk on the railing. That, honestly, is my least favorite thing to happen in Cap Kingdom. Usually causes me to reset. Very tilting indeed. So as we come out of Cap Kingdom already, GSK8 coming out with a commanding lead, Sefaro trailing behind as we shoot out of this first wire. Now, both of these runners playing on 1.0, which is the recommended kind of version for going the fastest in this video game. 1.0 is the very original kind of release of this game, the version of this game, but was never actually publicly available from launch, like a lot of Switch games nowadays. This game did have a first day patch release 1.1, and it patched out this upcoming first moon skip that you're about to see. But by factory resetting your Switch and eliminating updates, it was possible for players to play on 1.0, which is what makes it viable to play legally. So that's why you see these guys playing on 1.0 nowadays. GSK8 nailing this first moon skip, getting underneath the invisible wall on the first try. Sefaro also handily through, very nice indeed. GSK8 getting that dino skip. Sefaro showing a little bit of spaghetti in this first part of the game, taking a bonk, getting up to the dinosaur. We're going to see him attempt this dino skip as well. He's going to be getting that just fine. So keeping pace, you know, playing a little bit sloppier than gsk8 in the early part of the game. But like I mentioned, anything can still happen. Sefaro definitely is a late game clutch kind of player. So do not count him out even with the early disadvantage at the beginning. Now, Madame Brutal, nothing much to say here. We do have these fast strats kind of available to us that we have learned over time. Fine-tuned them to a point of almost muscle memory, not even having to think about them. So both of these guys coming through this fight rather handily, grabbing this first Grand Moon of the game. And now to leave Cascade, we need just one more Power Moon usually, but because they skipped the first moon, actually going to need two. So we're going to see him, gsk8 on the right here, grab one quick Power Moon on top of a cliff, one quick Power Moon underneath, and maybe attempt a chest clip recently discovered to get back to the Odyssey. Now, I'd like to remind you guys of our sponsor, Vi.gg, where you can place bets on your runners, maybe get lucky by supporting these runners. You can go to Vi.gg by typing !bet in the chat or by clicking the banner underneath the stream to learn more. Of course, you must be of legal gambling age and in a country where gambling is illegal to participate. gsk8 going for that chest clip there. Unable to get it, so he's going to have to back it up by coming out of the little alpha. Backing it up just fine. Now, Sefaro, on the other hand, did indeed get the chest clip. He's going to be saving about 3 seconds over G. And away they are to Sand Kingdom. Now, Sand Kingdom, actually one of my favorite when it comes to the any percent run. Used to be what we more technical kingdom in the run, but with such optimization that any percent runners have given this category, this game in particular, Sand Kingdom kind of just like blends in with everything else, in my opinion. There's not really anything that stands out over any other kingdom, with the exception of maybe the Sphinx clip. But at such an optimization that these guys have, it would not surprise me if they have absolutely no trouble with this trick at all. Now, coming through Sand Kingdom, the idea here, of course, in Super Mario Odyssey is to save Princess Peach from Bowser's grand elaborate wedding. But in the case of speedrunning, we don't really take all of the steps to kind of save the world along the way. There is a inverted pyramid kind of hanging around in the background there. There's a boss hanging out in there waiting for us, and then it kind of changes phases into a nighttime portion. All of that is way too slow for us speedrunners doing the any percent category, so all we're going to be doing in Sand is going around collecting some Power Moons, looking to get the fastest ones that are possibly available to us, and then leaving the Sand Kingdom in the dust, not really looking to save any lives here. Just Princess Peach at the end, that's all we care about. Now, coming up here on gsk8, we have what we consider called the Dram strat. Dram is kind of a fancy word that we've thrown around the community a little bit to encompass a wide variety of tricks, but this is the original. So he's going to be taking a long jump, throwing his cap up in the air and stalling it while he grabs this alcove moon. Then he's going to use the bullet bill to warp capture, but he actually missed the trick. We're going to see Sefaro try and attempt it here now. gsk8 having some trouble getting up the icicle pillar. Sefaro actually getting the Dram strat early, having to go back down into the alcove. So both of these guys messing up this trick just a little bit. But the fact that both of them kind of messed it up a little is in gsk8's favor, really. It was his time to lose. Sefaro actually messing up with the bullet bills here a little bit, crashing them into each other, and he's going to have to wait for another one. This is a pretty significant time loss. Each bullet bill takes probably 6 or 7 seconds to spawn, so giving gsk8 quite an advantage here. Now, gsk8 is approaching the Sphinx clip here. So the idea is to use the wall in behind the Sphinx to just clip directly into the wall rather than talking to him and initiating some dialogue, which is very slow. He is having a little bit of trouble setting this clip up, though. All of these attempts are going to give Sefaro a chance to catch up. Now, there are a couple of different ways of going about this trick. You can clip directly into the room behind the Sphinx to optimally do this route, but it also sets you up for a bird cycle later. So by doing what we call the double clip and Sphinx clipping right into the room immediately, you do have to be a little bit on your toes. Both of these guys opting for the single clip instead, which is the safer method, the safer setup. And Sefaro making up some time immediately, getting the first try clipped, GSK taking about 6 or 7 tries. So just like that, back in it. Still about 10 to 15 seconds separates them, but again, this is anybody's race still. Capturing that bullet bill in sync, Sefaro just has one more power moon to gather until he can kind of follow GSK8 along to this Jaxi ruins here. And now I consider that kind of section in the ruins area to be probably the hardest in Sand Kingdom. So we're going to see these guys just roll across the desert to the oasis, gather a couple of quick moons, and then they're going to be on their way to Lake Kingdom as well. Maybe just one tricky moon remaining, that being the notes on top of the palm trees. Now, see this bird that GSK8 is gathering here? The reason that they did opt for the single clip is specifically for that bird. If you do the double clip, you kind of have to get your second clip on first try in order to be able to line that bird's cycle up optimally. Otherwise, he's going to be kind of flying around the oasis in an unoptimal spot. You're going to have to chase him around. You're going to be losing a lot of time. So by opting for the single clip, you kind of reliably set that up in a way that you do not have to worry about him as you approach. So the bird in the most optimal location as these guys approach the oasis. Very solid showing. Sefaro, just a little bit of spaghetti coming into those notes on the palm tree. Not a big deal, but he is going to be following out GSK8 here. We do see GSK8's banner as Sefaro globes, signaling to me that they're about 15 seconds apart. And now going into Lake Kingdom. Lake Kingdom used to be kind of the relaxing kingdom. Not a whole lot happening here. But, that being said, there are some tricks up any percent runner's sleeves. Lots of people like to kind of complicate things when it comes to any percent running. So that being said, Lake Clip is a new thing that has been kind of discovered with this kingdom. We probably won't see this in this tournament very much, as it is a little bit of a technical trick, very precise, saves very minimal time, and is still rather new. But the idea here being, after GSK8 collects this moon, he lines himself up in the corner in a way where he can kind of clip through the wall, do some fancy out-of-bounds movement, and then get some moons that are kind of out of the way otherwise. Not going to see him go for that today. Interestingly enough, Sefaro has done this in the past. He's choosing Wooded first. Now, from what I understand, Wooded first is the idea that, you know, Wooded is a hard kingdom. You want to get it out of the way. You don't want to have to worry about it. So, by going to Wooded first, you can kind of save the 4 minutes that going to Lake Kingdom takes. Get those out of the way, and if you need to reset in Wooded Kingdom, you can get it out of the way right away. If you mess up the nut clip, you're not wasting so much time. It doesn't really make sense in a race setting, but, you know, once you've built the muscle memory, it's kind of hard to break it. So Sefaro going for this nut clip here, getting the out of bounds movement very handily, just has to be very careful with this wall jump. He does get the moon. Now has to land a precise wall jump here. Oof. Very sketchy looking movement there, getting out from underneath the out of bounds movement, but he does make it work. This ramp giving him a little bit of trouble. Now the idea here is if you change your direction too much on this ramp, it can kind of kill your momentum and send you sliding back down. So he did need to give that a second try, but did make it through okay. Pretty solid out of bounds portion for Sefaro. One of the harder parts of the Wooded Kingdom, so probably very happy to just have that out of the way. And with that, gsk8 is out of Lake Kingdom and is going to be joining Sefaro in Wooded Kingdom. It's going to be very tough to tell who is in the lead until both of these guys have finished their respective second kingdoms in this route. Lake Kingdom is, of course, much, much shorter than Wooded, however, so it would not surprise me that gsk8 is kind of approaching Wooded while Sefaro still has quite a lot to do. And now Sefaro grabbing some quick moons, kind of hiding around this portion of Wooded Kingdom, guiding this story moon. Now, there has actually been some routing changes discovered recently. Basically, it's come down to any percent where we are looking to eliminate as many cutscenes as possible in order to save time. Because cutscenes, there's nothing we can really do about making optimizations on. But if we eliminate the cutscenes and replace them with other things, then of course optimizations can indeed be made. So cutting out this story moon is kind of on the table right now. Replacing it with a moon in a tree kind of earlier on in the kingdom. But for now, Sefaro going to be grabbing that story moon, setting himself up to go into this tower. Very solid setup for that. gsk8 going for the nut clip here. His clip does not look too solid. Yeah, didn't make it through the wall. So we're going to see maybe a rock clip from him or perhaps an old variation of the route. This is costly indeed. If he does not go for the rock clip, which doesn't surprise me, very erratic clip to try and go for. Not very many runners do have it under their belts. So we are going to see gsk8 actually go for the older route here. And this particular situation is going to cost him a substantial amount of time. And we do see Sefaro going for the Spiritless route, which does involve kind of jumping from the top of the tower, doing this sub-area that gsk8 is actually in. So it might look like a little bit of sync right now. But in fact, Sefaro is going to be leaving Wooded Kingdom rather handily here. gsk8 has quite a bit more to do in Wooded before he's able to leave. Just goes to show the kind of routing differences. Oh my goodness. gsk8 falling down here. He's in the deep woods. This is a tragedy. Trying to make the climb up to the top of Wooded Kingdom here and actually taking a fall into the deep woods. This is extremely costly. This is not good at all for gsk8. He has got to be kicking himself right now. Falling into the deep woods, has no way to get out aside from these little planters. Has to plant the seed in the pot, get the vine to send him out. And just about any fall into the deep woods is going to be a big fall, a big mistake. Going to be losing many, many seconds, probably almost a minute here as a result. In fact, being sent all the way to the Odyssey, this is a tragedy. Luckily, he does have the checkpoint flag there. He can reinitiate this climb back up to the top of Wooded Kingdom, but he's got to be like completely disappointed with the situation here. And you know, this might just come down to a little bit of rust, not having this old route fully established. So we did see him mess up that climb, but he is going to recover here. Now, I can almost guarantee that Sefaro is going to be taking the lead as a result of this. And Sefaro approaching what would be the lake clip spot here. Probably not going to see it from him as well. Wouldn't surprise me. Very tricky thing to go for. Doesn't save a whole lot of time, especially if you haven't practiced it. Okay, doing a little bit of dancing there. He kind of jebaited me, to be honest. I did think that maybe Sefaro was kind of planning to show a little bit of late clip shenanigans, but not going to be the case. just grabbing the fish underneath, grabbing those quick moons, and going to be doing the Rango fight instead. So gsk8 grabbing this story moon. He still has to go around to the crumbling tower. Then he has to go to the inside of the tower and then do the spirit fight because he is doing the old route. Now, Sefaro approaching this Rango fight. Another one of those situations where the muscle memory kind of kicks in. We've been doing this fight forever. Nothing really to say about it at all. You know, very rare to see any runners kind of mess this up. Sefaro, of course, nailing it rather handily. And just like that, we can kind of see the lead starting to form. The fall into deep woods for gsk8, obviously not playing into his favor at all. And as Sefaro collects this last power moon, gsk8 is entering the Wooded Kingdom's spirit fight. So they are about one brutal battle away from each other. But gsk8 has given up his lead already to Sefaro this early on. Like I said, Sefaro kind of activates as he enters the later kingdoms in this game. So this is going to be scary indeed for gsk8. He's going to have to really be on his A game in order to catch. But just like that, Sefaro was on his way. Now the game does tell you that you're going to Metro Kingdom, but does do you a little bit of a debate. It does tell you that Metro is your next destination, and then Bowser comes in and interrupts your life, interrupts your day, makes things difficult. So you make a pit stop into Cloud Kingdom. So nothing to really report about Cloud Kingdom here. This is our first interaction with Bowser. But Bowser in this game, honestly, a bit of a pushover. Essentially going to be throwing his hat towards your direction. You're going to use Cappy to capture it. And use the built-in fists that I don't know why Bowser would ever think of adding these to a cap, especially in a fight. But you're going to use these fists to kind of punch him off the stage. 3 times the charm, of course, as is tradition in Mario games. We do have kind of some quick strats available to us to make this happen. Obviously, standing back and waiting for the hats to launch at us is the intended way of this game, but being speedrunners, of course, does not fare well with us to wait for very much anything at all. So, going to be jumping at those hats as soon as they're available. Sefaro, of course, making the fight look easy. gsk8 entering this fight now. Cloud Kingdom taking about 1.5 minutes to finish everything. So we do see about 1 minute's variance between these guys now. And Sefaro into the Lost Kingdom now. This kingdom is a very scary kingdom indeed. Surrounded by a purple ocean, I suppose, of poison. This poison is instant kill, no chance to recover, no damage animations to be had here. If you fall in the poison, it is your doom. We do not collect any checkpoints along the way here, so you are looking at a situation where you get sent back to the Odyssey. That means if you're really far into the level, you are going to be wasting a lot of time trying to get back there. So, going to have to be quick, but of course, be careful as well. This is a very quick kingdom, very tight and compact. Lots of moons in kind of relative proximity to each other. But careful is the name of the game here. Sefaro making quick work of Lost Kingdom. Being sure to avoid all the hazards. Getting some quick moons around here. And we'll see if he's going to set himself up for any sort of cage triple ideas. The next moon that he can collect here after this one is a moon in a golden cage on top of a tree. As you can kind of see in the background there. actually opting not to do that, going for the safe strat, getting this Stone Cage Moon underneath instead. Not a bad race decision, in my opinion. If you're looking to play it safe, that's the way to go. Obviously, no real hazards associated with that particular strategy at all. So Sefaro making very quick work with the safer strats in Lost Kingdom, and he's on his way now. Meanwhile, gsk8 taking up the rear here. Doesn't look like he's having any trouble with Lost Kingdom yet either. But he may know that after that Deep Woods fall, he is going to be trailing at this point. It might be in his best interest to start doing some riskier strategies, some scarier stuff in order to make the catch-up possible for him. If he plays it safe, he might not have enough momentum to keep the lead, or to keep the gain on Sefaro, I suppose. So I'll have to see what kind of plan gsk8 has to catch up. Sefaro, meanwhile, entering Metro Kingdom after that debate is finally over. We do arrive at our destination to find that there is a Mecha Wiggler, and he is kind of invading the city. gsk8 did try indeed to go for that cage triple. Didn't get it off in an orderly fashion. Actually going to be setting it up again to try and pull the trick off. Definitely not the fastest way to go about that at all. He probably should have backed it up the same way that Sefaro did. Ooh, no, and he took a death before grabbing the moon underneath the bridge. Again, this is going to send him back to the Odyssey, probably wasting even more time here, 15 to 20 seconds. Lost Kingdom not treating gsk8 well at all. Meanwhile, Sefaro in Metro Kingdom here did go for the Goomba jump, but actually took damage, luckily not falling down off the top of the building. So, not the biggest deal. Definitely not losing much time over gsk8's mistakes in Lost Kingdom here. gsk8, unfortunately, going to be taking some extra time loss here. Probably not happy with the situation there. And now Sefaro at the top of this city hall, doing the long jump across. This is a scary jump indeed. The camera can kind of mess up your momentum a little bit there. Can send your cap flying in directions that you don't want. Can send Mario diving in a direction that you don't want. So happy to see that Sefaro was able to come out safely there as he approaches this Mecha Wiggler fight. Now, anybody unfamiliar with this fight, the actual mechanics of the fight themselves are not that hard to get a hold of. You can use motion controls to control the tank's direction. You can kind of manipulate the first fight rather easily. It's always going to be the same, but the second phase in particular is the one that causes the most problems. Just about any pattern that this Wiggler can give you is RNG and can be two-cycled, but the hitboxes of this boss are particularly annoying, especially for speedrunners. Wow, gsk8, I'm actually just noticing he pulled off a vault strategy there to get up to the top of that roof. That was very slick. I have never seen that before. Usually you see a triple jump off of that kind of cascading staircase up to the top of that roof. But he's using a vault, which is a very stylish strategy indeed. Now, Sefaro getting a very nice pattern for his Mecha Wiggler, finishing it off handily. You like to kind of finish the Wiggler off before he stops moving, and that's exactly what Sefaro was able to do here. So, quick work of Night Metro for Sefaro. No real problems except for that one Goomba damage situation. But he's on his way. He's taking this lead and running with it right now. And again, Sefaro really well known for his late game. So as we kind of approach Day Metro and into the later kingdoms here, the Metro Snow Seaside Luncheon, this is where Sefaro is really going to pop off, so to speak. He's going to be really in his element, and gsk8's going to really have his work cut out for him. Oh my goodness, what is happening here? I have never seen that happen before at all. Okay, so gsk8, oh, this is tragic. This is the most tragic thing that probably could have happened to gsk8 right now. Accidentally exiting the capture of the wire here as he makes his way up to the top of City Hall, and as a result has to do this entire climb section again. This is a hard mistake to take. You know, I've had this kind of thing happen to me before where, you know, you're in a capture, you kind of forget, and sometimes you just fat finger the trigger, and that causes you to leave the capture. gsk8 has got to be upset with this situation right now. Has to do the entire City Hall climb again. Luckily, not having any problems with it. So he is out of City Hall. He's going to have to make sure that he does not... Oh, you know what? I think the reason that he might have done that is because he knew he missed the checkpoint. That is tragic. That is a really unfortunate situation for gsk8. Meanwhile, Sefaro did in fact get the scooter clip on the drive-by. He is just flying through the stage. You know, he's leaving gsk8 in the dust now. Super unfortunate situation for gsk8. Now, the reason he needed to go back and get that checkpoint is because we used that checkpoint later on in the kingdom. You're going to see Sefaro collect some musicians here. After those musicians, he's going to be warping up to the top of City Hall. And of course, if you did not have that checkpoint, it would be much harder to accomplish that. There is ways of getting up to City Hall, but of course they're really slow. Probably would have been faster for gsk8 to just take those optional ways of getting to City Hall top without doing the entire Lost and Found climb again. But, you know, when you're in a race and the stakes are high, it can be kind of hard to think of these unintentional route changes on the fly. I do not blame gsk8 for going about it the way that he did, but, you know, unfortunate situation. Definitely going to be setting himself back quite a bit here. Now, gsk8 did have a rather lucky Mecha Wiggler pattern here, so coming out of the fight just fine. Now, Sefaro warping to that checkpoint that I was talking about earlier, using it to gain vantage over this trash moon here. Shortly after that, grabbing some quick moons on the tops of the metro buildings before entering a sub area and then leaving. And now, while we have just a little bit of a moment, doing some moon collection, going to remind you guys of our sponsor, Vi.gg, making these tournaments possible. Super Mario Odyssey Tournament, Super Mario 64 70-star Tournament, and Super Metroid's Any Percent Tournament happening on twitch.tv/speedrun right now. Vi.gg is a place where you can bet on your favorite runners, show them some love, maybe get lucky yourselves. If you want to learn some more information, type !bet in the chat or click one of the banners below the video feed to learn more information. Go to vi.gg and, you know, maybe win some money on this one. And honestly, if I were to be placing a bet on this particular race, I do not know what I would have said. I do not know what I could have possibly predicted. Maybe put my money on gsk8, considering he is potentially the underdog in this situation. Sefaro having the better, you know, just about anything can happen. And as we've seen, unfortunate tumbles already in this race. Anything can really happen in the game of speedrunning, especially when it comes down to mentality. Now, that being said, Sefaro did make a nice clean route through Metro Kingdom, not having any problems here. And he's on his way to Snow. Now, if I know Sefaro, I know that he's going to be going for some Snowdram ideas. Snowdram, of course, being one of the harder tricks in the entire run. A very, very tight jump that requires precise inputs to make happen. The risk-reward level of this particular trick is very, very low in the runner's favor. Nailing the trick does save you about 7 or 8 seconds over any other snow route that we have kind of optimized. That being said, missing the trick, each miss is about 20 seconds of loss. So, you know, while Sefaro does have a commanding lead here, still probably looking at about 2.5 minutes of lead over gsk8. gsk8 still has a lot to do in Metro Kingdom before he's able to join Sefaro in Snow. But that being said, anybody's race still, especially with Snow Kingdom on the horizon here. Now, Snow Kingdom, arguably one of the least favorable kingdoms in any run of this game that you do. You know, thematically very pretty, I would say, but also a little bit frustrating as a speedrunner. Because this kingdom in particular, a lot of the fast content is locked behind world peaks, which requires, as a casual player, to go into each of these sub-rooms that Sefaro is going into, and grabbing the story moons at the ends of each of them to open up one of the locked doors. And once all 4 of them have been unlocked, you go into a bound bowl portion, which is kind of like a Grand Prix race involving the Chevere. Of course, doing all of that is extremely slow, even with the clip that has been discovered in Snow Kingdom to skip a lot of these story moons, still extremely slow to do the bound bowl. So we basically have no choice but to gather some of these slow story moons. So that's what you see Sefaro doing here, grabbing the first story moon in this Taifu room with the poison. Instant kill poison again, by the way. Avoiding it handily. Now he's going to be entering another one of these sub-areas. This one involving some Goomba stacks. This ice, particularly tricky, giving Sefaro a little bit of a trouble here, but he's going to be safe. He has to stack up all these Goombas together, one quick power moon hidden inside this wall, and then he'll be grabbing the story moon directly afterwards. Now, he did not make a trip to the shop. Usually that is kind of an indicator to me that he will be going for the Snowdram trick. Does not surprise me. He is a top-level any percent runner. You know, once you get to a certain point, to a certain threshold in any percent, you do not really take no for an answer when it comes to Snowdram. So after he's got this story moon, he's going to be making a quick visit to the shop inside town and then warping back to the Odyssey where Snowdram is going to happen. Now, this again is a very prominent tipping point. If Sefaro spends any extra time trying to get this Snowdram trick on lockdown, it will give gsk8 a little bit of a chance to catch up. So Sefaro buying the story moon, or buying the shop moon there, now on his way to the scary Snowdram trick. So he's going to be spin pounding onto the roof of the Odyssey here, setting himself up in a very particular position, going for the setup-less variation, didn't actually use the camera manipulation to try and set himself up, probably going to be regretting that decision entirely, but still going for the setup-less variation anyways, does get the vault here, and he is going to be landing the trick on the second try. So it does pay off for him in the end. The setup-less version probably saving you a couple of seconds, but the reason going into first person is so handy is that you get to very accurately aim Mario in the direction that you want. Sefaro saying he doesn't need that. Not even important. So while it did take him 2 tries, the first try was not a complete fall. He was able to back it up and save himself, getting back on top of the Odyssey, not losing that full 20 seconds. And so gsk8's going to be sweating here. He knows all of the huge mistakes that have happened to him in this run. Not sure if he knows how Sefaro is faring, but he's on pretty decent pace, in my opinion. Yeah, gsk8's going to have to pull out some interesting stuff from his bag of tricks in order to make this comeback possible. Meanwhile, Sefaro into the Seaside Kingdom. Now, interesting thing about Seaside, this route that we have for this kingdom has kind of been formulated since day one. There hasn't really been any substantial changes to it. There are a lot of moons in this kingdom, and you know, there's lots of variety for some route differences. In basically every different kingdom, or sorry, every different category of this game, you see a different variation of Seaside. You see a different collection of moons along the way. and that's just because of the pool and how varied they are. That being said, we did find the any percent one rather quickly. It just hasn't really changed a whole lot, and it's hard to optimize something this, but we do have one method. Sefaro approaching it here. So as we gather this power moon, he's going to be doing what we call the rocket flower refresh, essentially doing a spin throw and then into a ground pound while you have a rock flower, resets its timer. He's actually not going to be getting the second one, though. Not able to get the ground pound off in time before grabbing the power moon, so he's going to have to opt for this Gushin variation here. Not losing into entirely a huge amount of time. It's going to be okay. Maybe only about a second. Now gsk8 approaching Snowdram himself, having some trouble getting onto the Odyssey. The nerves may be kicking in here. All right, setting up, getting the vault, and getting the trick on the first try here after finally landing on the Odyssey. Of course, getting on top of the Odyssey probably wasted him a lot of time as well. Unfortunate situation, but he is indeed on his way to Seaside now. And Sefaro in the final portion of Seaside. Like I said, this kingdom, not really much we can do to optimize it any further than we already have. This section with the fish, rather resident sleeper in my opinion. Not a whole lot you can really do, just kind of optimizing cutting corners as the fish. Gathering some fast moons underwater, and then on your way out of the kingdom via... And just like that, as gsk8 enters Seaside Kingdom, Sefaro on his way out. Now, Seaside, one of the shorter kingdoms, but we are looking at about a 3.5 minute separation of these guys right now. gsk8 does indeed have his work cut out for him, especially with Sefaro being so strong in the late game. Luncheon Kingdom, a notable choke point for a lot of runners. This is where dreams come to die, in my opinion. Not so much that the kingdom itself is very hard to do, but it is the kind of kingdom where little mistakes add up very quickly. Lots of very precise movement involved in this kingdom. And by lead time, 1 second here. Now, Sefaro setting up for the salt pile triple. Ooh, and actually missing the trick. He's going to have to go for a backup. Going to be taking the safer approach here. And grabbing that salt pile moon just fine. And already Luncheon battering Sefaro around a little bit. This is the kind of thing that gsk8 is going to need in order to catch up, I think. Doesn't look like gsk8 was going for the rocket flower refresh there at all. Did look like he was trying to set it up, but wasn't able to get the ground pound off very nicely there. So also having to opt for the Gushin, which is just fine. Finally capturing the Cheep, and he's going to be making his underwater journey happen in Seaside as well. Meanwhile, Sefaro finishing off the Spewart refight. I suppose if you do the Spewartless route in Wooded, this is the first time you see him. The only difference being, of course, the size and shape of the arena. Aside from that, nothing really to write home about this fight. Not very difficult, just jumping on his head before he's able to do any sort of movement anyways. So, making it look easy. Now this only looking to grab one quick moon, kind of hiding around the corner here, and now Now we're going to see Sefaro set up a very fancy looking strategy, doing a roll cancel around the corner, actually taking a dive into the lava instead. So as a result of that, having to do a health refill on this moon, each health refill does come with an animation, which, of course, as a speedrunner is not something you want. Hearing that something comes with an animation is probably nightmare fuel for a lot of speedrunners. Now, I'm going to be grabbing a golden turnip here, using this turnip to activate this soup, drop out a moon. Of course, you don't want the white turnips, they don't really do anything for you. The gold turnips are the ones that we need. And like I said, these tiny little mistakes that Sefaro is making, they're what kind of hemorrhage the time away. Not that Luncheon has any particularly risky movement in it, aside from a couple of things coming up here for some. It's just that, you know, it's very easy to kind of mess up the very, very astute optimizations that do exist in Luncheon Kingdom, and that's where the time ends up getting lost here, and it adds up very quickly. This being an exception, though, this Forks room, things have very commonly gone wrong here. World record pace has been shattered in this room. It involves a lot of motion control, a lot of shaking the controller, a lot of very precise inputs and dives following each one of those fork flicks in order to kind of gain the most optimal distance between you and your capture. But Sefaro making it look easy, coming out of that room handily. But because these guys are both on 1.0, we will likely see the turnip clip happening on Sefaro's screen here. So as he makes his way up the mountain, a couple of precise jumps to get up to the top. He's going to be pulling a turnip, grabbing this power moon, going to be using this turnip later on. You will see why. Lining it up against this cage, capturing this Panbro, and for some reason the game's physics allow this trick to happen where if you launch a Panbro in between this cage and the turnip, you can clip through. Sefaro having a little bit of difficulty here. I don't think his turnip setup was entirely optimal to make that trick happen, but he did end up getting it after a couple of tries. Now, again, this is a version exclusive trick. 1.2 runners do not have this available to them. It was indeed patched out, but because both of them are running on 1.0, it is going to be okay. Now, Luncheon Kingdom has one remaining kind of scary portion, and that's the one that Sefaro is approaching now. He's going to be doing a triple jump out of this vault. Actually, not getting the spin pound buffer that he wanted, so having to back it up a little bit. But grabbing a power moon hidden underneath the mountains, taking a weird dive off of this, off of these weird polygonal shapes. One of my least favorite parts of this entire kingdom, in fact. And then setting up a scary section of jumps here, but does end up pulling it off just fine. Taking one final bonk for good measure, but finally out of Luncheon Kingdom. Now, gsk8 does look like he's having a little bit of a cleaner go at Luncheon Kingdom so far. Will it be enough for him to catch up, though? That is the question. Yeah, gsk8 making very quick work of Luncheon Kingdom. Meanwhile, Sefaro finally on his way out, probably very happy to be out. Lots of minor mistakes kind of costing him some time. But on his way to Ruined now. Now, we've seen some crazy things happen in Ruined Kingdoms. unfortunate deaths, changing the tides of an entire race as a result of some perhaps unfortunate circumstances. Hopefully we do not see anything like that in this race today, but anything can happen. There's about 15 minutes remaining in the race. Still anyone's game. Still anything can happen. As I say that, of course, gsk8 taking a tumble, trying to get up to the turnips here. He's going to have to reset up this long jump up to the top. Does get the turnip there just fine. Going to be grabbing this power moon. Now taking the turnip over to the cage as well. And that setup looks actually pretty great. That's exactly where you want the turnip to be. Good distance on it, good positioning, and clipping into the cage on the first try. Very solid showing from gsk8 on the turnip clip. So he's going to be saving some time on Sefaro as a result of that, but it might finish up these last couple of power moons and then finish up Luncheon Kingdom. Meanwhile, Sefaro making his way through Ruined Kingdom. This is the second phase of this boss fight. Still has one more to go. So gsk8 setting up this scary jump. Using this tiny little nook in the mountain to make that jump possible. Very easy to bonk there and lose a lot of time falling into the lava. There is one way to save yourself, but it's not a very well-known trick, not one that easy to pull off if you have not practiced it very much. Sefaro making things interesting in Ruined Kingdom, down to his last health as he gets that final hit. He's going to be very happy that he is coming out unscathed in this Ruin fight. You know, if he was to take a death right at the end there, this would be a very interesting race all of a sudden. gsk8 is leaving Luncheon Kingdom now on his way to Ruined. Sefaro would be sent back to the beginning of that boss fight. But luckily avoiding that, on his way to Bowser's Kingdom now. Now, I've watched Sefaro specifically run this kingdom. He is one of the best. I have seen him go for a lot of the hard strats associated with this kingdom. We'll see if he's able to pull out all the stops here. And as Sefaro leaves Ruined Kingdom, gsk8 approaches. We do have about 3.5 minutes of separation here still between these guys. Luncheon Kingdom not treating either of them particularly well, unfortunately. Now, Sefaro approaching Bowser's Kingdom. This first room, it's not really rooms, I suppose, little islands, I guess, but segmented this kingdom into little islands separated by story moons, the first one being right here. You're going to see him kill this ogre. Story moon is going to appear. I like Bowser's Kingdom as a speedrun because it does give you a little bit of time in between these very perplexed platforming sections. You get a little bit of a breather between each ones. So getting up the wall really nicely for Sefaro, killing the ogre fast. Now he's on his way to the next portion, which is the shards portion. This probably is the hardest section of Bowser's, in my opinion. A lot of optimization has been done here to make this kingdom as fast as possible. And this shards portion is no exception. So getting this first shard, doing a roll cancel to maintain his speed, then doing a very, very precise throw to get that second shard into a dive back strategy. That alone saves about 3 seconds over getting that shard safely. Now, Sefaro showing off his Joy-Con strats there, getting the 4th shard on the down throw. Now he's going to be using this bomb to blow up the wall, get this final shard, and now he's on his way through the shards portion, making it look really clean, only taking one tiny little bonk there. gsk8 also doing me a little bit of a bamboozle. Does look like he was able to squeeze out of that ruin fight with just 1 health. Now, that being said, Sefaro is indeed going for this capture warp strategy, going for the ground pound on the railing variation. A little bit of a safer way of doing it. You get a little bit of extra height from doing it on the railing rather than doing a spin pound on the lower portion of the floor. Also a more dangerous one, in my opinion, because if you do bonk on that wall, you do end up falling off of the stage. But he is able to pull out the victory there. Sefaro choosing Harriet first. The wise decision. Topper first is kind of the insecure strat, if you ask me. People who do Topper first are probably thinking I might take some damage in Topper, get Topper out of the way. If I do take damage to Topper, I can use the checkpoint flag to heal myself before going into the Harriet fight. Sefaro showing no fear at all. And then finishing off Topper handily as well. Not taking any damage. Of course, the optimal strategy there. And with that, Sefaro is grabbing that Story Moon, the last Story Moon before we reach the end of this kingdom. We did not see him go for any Pokio Dram strategies at the beginning of this kingdom, so he is going to be grabbing one more Power Moon hidden beneath a corridor in the floor, which is just upcoming here, before he makes his way up to the Robo Brutal fight. gsk8 approaching the shards portion here, also going for the dive back strategies himself, doing a little bit of fancy taking a bonk on the top of the roof there, getting bullied by some Pokios. Gonna have to taking the damage, meaning he's going to have to refill. Is adding up here for gsk8. Now Sefaro getting the moon in the corridor under the floor, taking a bit of a risky dive to get up to the top here, but is able to come out safely on the other side. Now he just has to climb this wall as a poke and make his way up to the Robo Brutal fight. It'll be interesting to see what kind of strategies Sefaro goes for here. We might see some Harriet third situation. All right, Sefaro getting the first hit, getting the climb really well, in fact. Getting the Goryuya method of the second Topper hit there. Now, setting himself up behind Harriet like this does signal that he is going Harriet third. Gonna have to be very precise backflip, missing the ground pound, setting up the backup, getting it just fine. Now he has to line himself up on this kind of middle bar and do a couple of quick dives into a spin pound to get the final hit. He is going to be getting target acquired here on his way to Moon Kingdom, making quick work of the Robo Brutal. This is his race to lose now. gsk8 approaching the second of these brutal fights, choosing Topper first. Unfortunate situation for him, pausing the game before he's able to get to the, you know, just bleeding time away, unfortunately, for gsk8 here. You know, and Sefaro basically has to make some huge mistakes in Moon Kingdom for this to turn around for gsk8. Moon Kingdom not entirely difficult to pull off, but the mistakes, the tiny little mistakes that you can make in Moon Kingdom will cost you lots and lots of time. So anything can happen still. This is still anybody's race up until we shoot out of the wire. So just about anything can happen. Sefaro depositing his moons into the Odyssey one final time on his way to Moon Kingdom. Now, the Moon Kingdom taking about 5.5 minutes optimally. So, Sefaro actually on pace for probably a mid 105. gsk8, on the other hand, still has quite a bit of work to do in Bowser's Kingdom here. Climbing up this wall, doing the Pokio poke strats, making quick work of the wall. Now Sefaro, that vectoring we were talking about at the very beginning of the race, coming in handy here again. Using the vector strategy to gain some speed and some distance, make it all the way across the gorge there. You see, very handily done by Sefaro. Now rolling across the moon dunes here, rocket flowers to boost your way through. Setting up for the moon cave skip here. Did have a little bit of a weird setup there. Yeah, just a little bit too close to the wall. Gonna have to do that setup again. Luckily, nothing risky happening. Still alive, still well. And making it up to the top just fine. He's going to be happy with that outcome, I think. Meanwhile, gsk8 getting battered around by this Robo Brutal right now. Gonna need to capture this Pokio. Interesting scenario here for gsk8. Not actually opting for the Pokio. Going to be dying honorably to redo the fight from the beginning. An interesting way of going about that. Obviously not the strategy, but I imagine there is some frustration in gsk8 right now. Just going to be attempting the fight from the beginning again. Setting up for the second hit, getting it this time. And landing the backup strat here to get back on top of the Robo Brutal. So he is going to have another opportunity at making it happen. Does look like he is setting up for some potential Harry at third. Nope, debating me, of course. Moving over to the side of the Robo Brutal, which does signal to me that he is setting up for Harry at fourth, but actually taking a fall, not able to get that fast hit on the third Brutal there. Falling down means that he's going to have to wait for another Pokio to get him up to the top. Very unfortunate situation for gsk8 on this fight. Things are just looking more and more bleak for him by the minute. Oh no, and escaping the Pokio before he's able to get to the top. This is a tragedy. He actually has to do the climb again. The little knobs on the legs disappearing on him. This is unfortunate for gsk8. Lots of time being kind of bleeding out right now for him. Meanwhile, Sefaro finishing off his second Bowser fight, taking no real risks here, making it happen, making it look easy. He is onto the escape sequence. This is where the tides of battle kind of change, you know, in Sefaro's favor. All it takes, though, for gsk8 to catch up is a couple of moon escape mistakes, essentially. But these runners know this. gsk8 Gsk8 not having a very good time in Bowser's Kingdom at all. I feel the tilt. I can feel the rage seeping through the computer screen as we speak. I can see him. Just an extremely unfortunate situation for Gsk8, taking another death on this Robo Brutal and falling down. There is no way he is happy with this situation at all. This honestly could not go for Gsk8 at this moment. Sefaro, meanwhile, getting the 2D, flying through the escape sequence, and he's on his way. You know, this, I hate to say it, but this is probably going to spell doom for Gsk8, taking another death in the Robo Brutal fight. You know, after something like that has happened, it's really hard to kind of take yourself serious and, you know, and kind of continue. But he's going to give it 4th time's the charm. Sefaro, meanwhile, in the pillar room. This is the final room. Just has to throw a couple of fireballs at these pillars. And going for the quick pillar strat, the first pillar strat, and actually falling to his death. He's going to be sent back to the escape sequence. Now, Gsk8, Robo Brutal fight. There is all sorts of spaghetti flying around here. Everything is going wrong for both of these guys. Luckily, Sefaro does have such a commanding lead that he is able to make these kinds of mistakes. If Sefaro just does that 4 more times, maybe Gsk8 has a chance of catching up, but it does look extremely bleak for him anyway. What an unfortunate situation for both of these guys, not having a very fun time with the end of this game at all. And Gsk8 really showing off his frustration, getting hit in the face with bombs. You know, really having a rough go of this entire section here. Sefaro nailing down the 2D skip again. Firing some fireballs into the final walls. Back into the pillar room. I was going to say that the pillar room is not a place that you see very many big mistakes, but of course, jinxed it before I was even able to get it out. Gsk8 really not having a good time with this Robo Brutal, again falling off. And doing a little bit of a dance with Harriet. Not sure what that's all about, but does get the final hit. Cannot be happy with that performance at all. Really sad situation for Gsk8 there. Finally making it through Bowser's Kingdom. Meanwhile, Sefaro did manage to get his first fast pillar. Did manage to throw the fireballs at the rest of the pillars, break them down. Finally on the final platform, breaking open the last rock. You know, really sad kind of unfortunate situation at the end here for Sefaro, but is still able to pull out the win regardless. Finally entering this final pylon, shooting out at 106.43 the final time. He will be taking the victory in this match. Gsk8 trailing behind, unfortunately, an entire kingdom. Does have all of the moon remaining here. There's no way he can be happy with that result, but, you know, somebody does have to go home here at the end of the day. And in this situation, Sefaro coming out on top and moving on to the next round of the losers bracket. Gsk8 still has the Moon Kingdom to go, unfortunately. But yeah, Sefaro probably kicking himself as well. But again, luckily Gsk8 not having a very good go of Bowser's Kingdom, which was what Sefaro probably needed in order to pull out this victory. Did hold on to a very commanding lead throughout this entire race. And maybe even with that death in the escape, if Gsk8 was to have a Bowser's Kingdom, that still might not have been enough. And now joining me in the call, we have the winner of this match himself, Sefaro. Now, Sefaro, this was a very interesting match indeed. Tell me what is going through your head right now. What was that race all about?
Hey.
Hola.
Hello.
So, some very interesting shenanigans going on in the end of that race.
That was pretty embarrassing. I honestly have no idea what happened on that escape. I feel like it's a combination of like your inputs being eaten by the lag caused from the fireballs hitting the pillars. But I definitely went too far right. It was a weird situation.
Yep, it did kind of look like that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
You know, lining up those fireballs does kind of lead you to the very edge of that platform, and if you're not careful, that can be the result. Now,
Indeed.
luckily, your opponent did have even worse luck than you when it came to the Robo Brutal fight. It did take him probably about 4 minutes total just to get out of there. Took a couple deaths. So, I mean, you did have a very commanding lead going into the late portion of the game. G-Skate not having a very good go of this race at all. So we do see him here still making his way into the Bowser fight. So, you know, a 106.43, not a typical time that I usually see from you, Sefaro, but it is enough to win. So,
well, definitely not. Yeah, would have been a mid 105 if I didn't die in escape.
Yeah, mid 105 is kind of what we were looking at until that last mistake. But you know, this was going to be enough to carry you through, pull out the victory here. And it does look like your next match is going to be against Tyler Tech.
Indeed.
And I know that you and Tyler Tech are both kind of in the same realm as well as far as PB is concerned. So any concerns coming up for that match? Is there anything that Tyler Tech, you know, he's kind of really good at that kind of intimidates you?
I just can't play like this again. That's for sure. I know I usually have those bad early games, but like I also had a bad end game, so it's like, you know, I can't be bad at everything. I think Bowser's and Seaside were decent, but that's the only two good like kingdoms.
Yeah, Bowser's did look actually really clean. The shards, I think the only real issue there was like maybe a bonk or something. But you know, if the only bad thing that you can point out is a bonk, then you've obviously had a pretty good kingdom.
Indeed. I think I wanted to try set up a Snowdram. Like I wanted to try and show it off because I figured I was kind of like far ahead, and I'm decent at it. Like I wanted to show like the hard part about set up the Snowdram is getting the right cap throw because the dram itself is pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, finding the right position for your cap is essentially all that the setup really does for you.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
if it's too far left, you don't get the proper vault, and if it's too far right, you just hit the little globe on the Odyssey. So
yeah, the ball it always hits that, so you want to avoid that.
yeah, exactly. Did get to show it off though, which was very nice.
I think the dram was pretty silly. That was like way back.
Oh yeah, I do remember Sandra.
I barely missed the moon. Yeah.
Yeah, that for me is one of the most triggering things that can happen. Is getting that early dram and having the capture warp happen before you grab the moon.
Then the bill just wouldn't spawn. It was pretty weird.
Yeah, and there was some bullet bill shenanigans happening where you kind of crashed them together, and unfortunate situation there.
I saw that coming. I really was hoping that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a spaghetti race, I'm not going to lie, but
again,
enough to kind of pull you through into the next round. So
I got pretty lucky, I'd say.
Yeah, G-Skate basically just got unlucky, I would say. Did spend unfortunate amounts of time in the Robo Brutal fight here. Finally approaching the end of the game here, though, breaking open, hopefully not taking any deaths in this pillar room. Going to be finishing off with a handy 113, mid 113 time.
Yikes.
And then we will be pulling him in for interviews, and I'm sure he does have a lot to say about this particular race as well.
But yeah, I don't think either of these times are good for races.
Yeah, you don't really see these times very often anymore. Of course, a couple of people in this tournament, but a couple of these people in this tournament do still have PBs kind of in this ballpark, but especially with PBs.
I just feel like if I got anything worse than a 107 in a race, I'll be like pulling my hair out.
Yeah, you hate to see it, really.
Yeah, I hate to see it. Definitely a Mario meltdown for me.
It's going to be a true Mario meltdown there. All right, G-Skate finishing up did kind of reset his timer, I imagine, out of a little bit of frustration. We are going to pull him into the call for just a hot minute here. Now, G-Skate, tell us what is going through your mind now. That was quite a display. I'm not going to lie.
I don't know. I'm 10 minutes behind my PB. I don't know what happened. I mean, I had a really bad run up until Forest, Wooded, I mean. And then I failed the nut clip, and then after that, deep woods.
Yep.
And from that point, I don't know, I just couldn't play. I tried for a little bit to keep pushing and still play well, but it didn't work. I fucked up in Cloud, in Lost Kingdom. Then after in Metro, I fell because I didn't get the checkpoint, and at that point, I don't know, I couldn't play.
Yeah, it just seemed like one after another.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that was fun for you guys. I don't know.
I mean, it definitely was a little bit entertaining, especially at the end. The batting you around quite a bit there. It took you quite a couple tries to get that down. Really unfortunate falls a bunch of times there, but
I was basically just fighting with myself to play. I don't know. That was really hard.
Yeah. I can understand that when the tilt gets that high that sometimes it's just, speedrunning is a mental being able to kind of keep your cool throughout the entire thing is perhaps one of the hardest parts.
Definitely. Oh well, GG's.
Yeah, GG's.
Yeah, unfortunately, one person does have to go home. It is going to be G-Skate in this situation. Sefaro moving on to the next round in the losers bracket, round 3 against Tylotech. Should be an exciting match indeed. Now, coming up on GSA, we do have a Super Metroid race coming your way. Losers round 2 versus Elminster and Robitalion. So stay tuned for that. We do have some more Super Mario Odyssey content coming your way. After that, I will be joining you guys on commentary again for all of those matches coming up. Until then, see you next time. GG's to both runners, and we will see you guys later.
All right, peace out.
All right, peace.